happy belated Passover, dear listeners. This is actually an episode that's been over a year in the making, much like the Life of Brian episode. But unlike the Life of Brian episode, I had opted to re-record this one this year because the one that had been recorded but never released ended up being more of a time capsule than I really wanted for the main feed. However, if you're interested in listening to the unedited 2.5-hour original recording from last year, including dear friend of the pod, Ellie of the Biggest Night in Podcasting fame, outright refusing to get any context from mentors, and Shami and I giving even more guest psychic damage from all the different historical figures that showed up on that show, you can listen to that uncut on our Patreon for as little as $5 a month. This will also give you early access to each episode once I finish editing, being part of the thank you list at the end of each episode, and access to the IER blog, which includes the IER book club. But if you do not have room in your wallets, don't you worry. I will do the usual spiel at the end of the episode of ways you can support us otherwise. Either way, thank you very much, and the following podcast is for entertainment purposes only. The views and opinions expressed therein are solely those of the speaker, and the following podcast contains swearing and includes discussions and references to antisemitism, slavery, child endangerment and death, as well as implications of the endangerment and death of animals, and by the very nature of the subject matter, the current political climate. Listener discretion is advised. And now, on with the show.
Many thousands of years ago, there lived a people called the Egyptians. They were very powerful and built all kinds of beautiful cities and buildings. But there also lived in Egypt the Jewish people, the Hebrews. At first, they all lived happily together, side by side.
I thought you said this was an exciting story.
It gets better. Now, the Egyptian pharaoh.
The what?
The pharaoh. He was kind of like a king. And this pharaoh person decided that all of the Hebrews had to be slaves of the Egyptians. He made them pull heavy stones and work in the hot sun and do whatever else he wanted.
Wow. Could this king maybe be a queen instead?
Sure, why not? Anyway, one day it was foretold that a leader of the Hebrew people would rise up and overthrow the pharaoh.
Uh-oh.
The pharaoh was very worried, so he told the Hebrews to throw all their boy babies in the Nile River.
Cool.
Well, it was pretty scary at the time, let me tell you. Anyway, one of the slave women decided to save her baby by putting him in a basket and sending him down the river. But just then, the pharaoh was floating by on the royal barge.
Welcome to A Niche Retelling, the podcast where we explore all the ways old tales are made new, and well, guess we have to go save the Seder. No use trying to put the brakes on it, it's going down. I am your host, Jasmine Garcia, and joining me today are...
Hi, I'm Bex, and I've never seen a more 90s show than I think that Canadian television series we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, it's very 90s, although it aired in 99, but it started in 99, I'm pretty sure.
It did. And I would know, I grew up watching it.
That means that the episode we saw was arguably probably released in 2000? Wild.
Yes.
Wild.
And Shamila Karunakaran, and to quote Tommy Pickles, let my babies go!
Yes, so once again, we've got a double feature for, well, this time instead of a double feature for Hanukkah, we had a triple feature last year. Now we have a double feature for Passover. And today we are going to be talking about the iconic Rugrats Passover episode and the much more niche Mentors episode where they summon Moses. So, with that all in mind, my usual format is always feels a little awkward when it comes to the religious holidays, but Passover, what's everyone's connection to that?
Well, I'm Jewish.
Enough said.
You might have heard me before on such hits such as A Niche Retelling's take on Hanukkah a couple years ago, or just popping off about other things on the pod. But I've been celebrating Passover as long as I can remember. Actually, I put the episode on the TV because my parents have Paramount Plus. My mom walked by and she's like, we used to have a Rugrats Passover on VHS tape. So other than celebrating this holiday every year, I also adored the Rugrats as a kid. I remember my Jewish country club had murals of the Rugrats on the walls of the children's dressing rooms for the pool. Dressing rooms? Changing rooms? I haven't been to a pool in years, I guess. And then Mentors I found out about today, and it compels me inexplicably. So
It makes no damn sense, compels you, though.
Truly, it is Benoit Blancing me.
As for me, well, I grew up Catholic, so probably the Book of Exodus keeps coming up whenever they talk about, like, the story of Passover in general. We also watched Prince of Egypt for the first time in 9th grade for one of my religion classes, so I think I'm most familiar with that version of the story. But I did also grow up with Rugrats, so it had been a while since I had seen the original Passover episode, but it still kind of hits.
Yeah, no, I think Rugrats is really one of those millennial nostalgia items that does really hold up, and I will definitely get into some of the jokes I've caught that really only an adult would have gotten. Like, it's nice when children's programming throws in a little bone for the grown-ups that are probably watching it with the kids.
Rugrats Passover is special in particular because it's the first of many things, one of the first ever Passover specials. It was written because Nickelodeon was like, we want a Hanukkah special, and the creators of Rugrats were like, can we do a holiday that actually is like has a lot more significance to the Jewish people first? So they did Passover. It was Emmy nominated. It scored a 3.1 Nielsen rating, which made it the highest rated show in Nickelodeon's history. Till I think the Thanksgiving episode of Rugrats beat it, but that was still Rugrats, so slay. So yeah, it was nominated for a Primetime Emmy, an Annie Award, which are like the animation Emmys, and a Cable Ace Award. I don't know what that last one is. Seems very 2000s. There's also a special novelization of this episode I also had as a kid that is, I think, maybe still in the Sherwin Miller Museum of Jewish Art in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But if that's not true, my bad, but it was there at one point. And it's just, obviously things had to be changed because it's a children's show, and I'll get into more of what the changes with the Passover story are as we go, because there were a significant amount. But it does stay pretty true to what the meaning of Passover is. And it's got some really funny, like specifically Jewish humor bits that I really tickled me when I rewatched it.
Yep, as for me, as I've said before, I was raised extremely secular, but I did grow up on Long Island, so I was surrounded by Jewish peers, so I was familiar with it. I know for a fact I have been to at least one Seder with a childhood friend.
Awesome. Yeah.
And said childhood friend was also actually coincidentally obsessed with Rugrats.
Who wouldn't be?
Yeah, no.
It was a hit, baby.
Yeah, no, I absolutely loved Rugrats growing up. Interestingly enough, her favorite was Angelica, and she was kind of a brat, so...
I will also say that this Passover special lost the Emmy to Lisa's Wedding from The Simpsons, which I can't fault. That episode is a banger.
I've been on record before that I've barely watched The Simpsons. I've only seen one episode so far. That was for this podcast, and that episode still hasn't aired because we're a disaster. But it's okay. It's okay. We'll make it happen someday. I adored the Rugrats growing up, and as for the other thing we're going to be talking about, we'll get into it, but that is also a big nostalgia item to me and to Shami and not really anyone else I know of.
Yeah, because it's a pretty obscure Canadian show that only exclusively aired either on Family Channel or Discovery Kids.
And I was a big Discovery Kids child. Anyway, so yes, let's start with the one that most of our audience would have heard of already.
Greetings, I am IER 60, Star Wars Repelling Connections. Point of intersection found. This is a degree 3. Cat Susie voiced Mon Mothma in the 2008 Clone Wars series, Mira Bridger in Rebels, and Jack in The Bad Batch. For additional degrees and uncredited amendments, check out uniqueretelling.tumblr.com/sibling blog.
Opens with Angelica doing what she does best, making a mess.
Yeah.
Breaking up the matzah, mixing it with jam to make crumbs.
I mean, if you like your matzah sweet, that's your prerogative. So the matzah came from the slaves having to flee with only stuff they could carry on their back, which left their bread to bake on their backs in the hot sun, without any yeast, and that became a cracker, and that's how we got matzah, and it's a good cracker, guys.
Yes.
10/10 recommend that cracker, even if I can't eat it anymore and I have to have matzah style crackers now, which isn't really the same.
Oh man, I never even thought about how not celiac friendly that would be. Poor thing.
Angelica's mom trying to negotiate a deal with the Sultan of Brunei. Wild.
When she was explaining Passover to him, she was like,
The only reason I'm not at this meeting is that it's Passover and I have to... Passover, Your Highness, it's a Jewish holiday. Well, it's hard to explain. Actually, I guess it's about freedom. Oh, no, Your Highness, that's not a dig at monarchy. How many times do I have to tell you? Oh, no, Your Highness, not you. You see, my daughter... Oh, great. I've just insulted the Sultan of Brunei.
I mean, I don't know, Charlotte. I understand you have a business to uphold, but also maybe you should be taking a dig at monarchy. Just a hot take.
Yeah.
Which, again, joke that only a grown-up would get.
Yeah. And then Angelica's like, why are we going to this? Are there presents? And when she hears it's about freedom, she's like, because, Angelica is like the oldest, but also somehow one of the most immature of the children.
Because she's a brat who is overly indulged by her father and arguably a little neglected by her mother. Not to disparage Charlotte, she's a working mom, it's not easy. And to her credit, she does try to discipline Angelica a little bit in this episode.
Passover is about something much more important than presents. It's about freedom.
Freedom? You mean like when you can do whatever you want and no one can tell you not to?
Well, sort of.
I'm free!
So they're like, this is what it's about, this is what we're going to do. And then we cut to a different car where it's Stu, Tommy, and Tommy's mom, whose name is escaping me.
Dee
Dee. First of all, that's the first time in the series that they've revealed that Dee and then her parents, Minka and Boris, which are about the most Jewish names you could have ever picked, it's perfect, are in fact Jewish. So that's fun. We don't really get a sense of what Stu is, but I feel like if you saw our episode on Rugrats Hanukkah, we get the sense that he is definitely not practicing much of anything and desperate to make up for it by the time of Hanukkah, where he makes a giant menorah. But that's another story for another time. We then go into one of the most classic things you can see. Old Jews bickering. Boris and Minka are fighting about which wine glasses to use for the Seder. One wants to use their grandpa's, the other wants to use their grandpa's. And, well, I mean, let's be real. To Minka's credit, Boris's glasses did need to be cleaned. You couldn't see through those things.
Yeah, they were very
They looked dirty as heck.
Yeah,
I thought it was mold at first. Those water spots.
And considering, fun fact, in Seder, you're required to drink a minimum of 4 glasses of wine, maximum of 6 if you're spicy. You don't want to be drinking that out of moldy glasses, even if it does make the Manischewitz taste better. Those that know. Manischewitz is really shitty wine.
I did not realize there was a wine requirement. That is amazing.
Yes, we have to, technically, if you go by the Seder rules, you got to drink 4 glasses of wine before the dinner and then like 2 more after the dinner. But children get grape juice and the parents get jealous because at least the grape juice tastes good.
Oh no.
It is what it is.
Tradition.
Exactly. Thank you, Tevye. Appreciate that. So the grandparents get in the fight, they go off, and then everyone gets there. And from the start, like, you see a Seder plate. You see a Haggadah, which is the traditional... how do I explain the Haggadah? It's the book of prayers and songs and other things detailing the Jews' journey out of Egypt that you read every year at Seder to recreate the story and remember where we came from. A lot of Judaism is very much about remembering where you came from.
When you think about it, this holiday is almost kind of perfect to talk about on this podcast then, since retelling the story is such a huge part of the tradition.
Very much so, you would say, and it is one of the most important Jewish holidays, the others being Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which is the Jewish New Year and the Jewish Day of Atonement. And then Hanukkah's just there. Sorry for the Hanukkah slander, it will happen.
Well, it's been commercialized to an extent, so...
It's there because of its proximity to Christmas. Yeah. We're all adults here, we all know this.
Also because they wanted to, like, promote fried foods and oil, so...
Yeah. So they get there, and the grandpa's gone missing. Now, he's old, so I don't know how far he could have gotten, but the grandma's very upset, and it leads to some very funny scenes where you can't even say his name without her starting to, like, caterwaul.
Which, you know, is adorable. That is some old married couple shit.
Boris!
Like, honestly, who among us doesn't want that for our golden years?
When will we find our Boris? But anyways, the other fun thing is that Chucky and Chucky's dad pop up, and they're not religious at all, but they've been invited to the Seder, which is another thing of like, the Seder's kind of a let all those who are hungry come and eat, inclusivity kind of thing. So that's fun, but I also feel like they did it just because they needed more babies in the episode.
Yeah,
which
probably.
is fair.
Yeah, they didn't really have Lil and Phil, so they needed another baby there at least.
Story, but they are imaginary Lil and Phil.
Yes.
So the babies and Angelica meet up. Angelica's annoyed that she can't find any presents, and the babies are like, we don't have any toys. So Angelica lets them out of the crate. They go up to the attic to one of my favorite bits, maybe in anything I've seen recently, which is that the grandpa's stuck in the attic because the door locks from the inside. And so this leads to, over a course of the episode, as more and more people enter the attic, it locks, and it has the same exact punchline and same exact voice intonation, just with with just more voice actors added. And it does lead to a point, spoiler, every single person that was in that house is locked in the attic at the end, and they just end it being like, oh well, we'll tell another story. Meanwhile, I'm like, this is the 90s. They didn't have phones in the attic. They can't call 911. How are they getting out?
I mean, I think Angelica's mom had her cell phone at least.
She had her cell phone, so she could have made a call. I think they were just invested in, like, how Boris's aunt and uncle met at their first Seder.
That was very silly. So the long story short, the babies end up trapped with Boris. And the baby's like, we don't get Passover. There's no presents. I can't have cookies because you can't eat things with yeast or stuff that rises on Passover. Grandpa's like, well, I gotta tell these babies what's up. So he starts to tell the story, and naturally, of course, Angelica casts herself in the role of the Pharaoh.
Which leads to some pretty funny bits.
And this is when artistic liberties start to really get taken. For example, Pharaoh obviously doesn't have a daughter that finds Moses floating in the water in the basket of reeds. Angelica finds him, and they just become buddies. And somehow Angelica doesn't realize, in this new kids version of Egypt, big kids are Egyptians and babies are slaves.
Yep.
Literal babies. There's so many babies. There's a shot, so many babies all in diapers, pulling like stones and building pyramids. And I'm like, it's kind of a crazy visual.
Child logic.
Yep.
Child abuse by children. It got very Lord of the Flies.
Also, the fact that Angelica didn't clock that Tommy was a baby even though he was wearing a diaper and didn't have the headdress on.
I think it's because he can speak, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, they all could speak. That's the whole point of the show. It's the talking baby show. Fuck you, Stewie Griffin. They were here first.
Tommy is a very well-spoken baby.
Yes.
Which is interesting that he is the stand-in for Moses, which will make more sense when we get to mentors.
You got a point there.
So they go through it, and she realizes that he's a baby, and they kind of skip a lot of the middle of the story.
Interestingly, they did adapt the whole Moses kills a guy.
Yeah, and they also didn't adapt the whole burning bush.
Yeah, we did miss the burning bush.
Burning bush, yeah.
They decided to adapt Moses killing a guy by having Tommy push one of the bullies, but not the burning bush.
And it was just Moses's friends telling him, like...
The other baby's telling him, okay, you gotta go away because Pharaoh is not going to, like, be cool with you suddenly being a baby.
Again, very silly.
I'm sorry, I'm wrong. They did have the voice of God thing. It was just entirely off screen. It's
they mentioned it. They just didn't adapt it.
Yeah, they mentioned it, but they don't have a burning bush on there. And it also is very funny because they have it as he becomes a shepherd and then he totally forgets about his past life. Because he's a baby.
They don't have long-term memory yet.
They don't have long-terms. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, Stu has to lead the Seder, and he is getting non-stop performance reviews from his mom. No, sorry, not his mom.
his wife.
From his
Like,
wife.
I don't know why Dee Dee couldn't have, like, led the Seder. I mean, obviously she's familiar with it.
It's, it has to be a man.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think I remember it usually is, yeah.
Oh.
Yay.
It's gotta be the oldest man at the table.
And Drew is the younger brother, so yeah.
So, ancient sexism prevails.
Unfortunately, all religions seem to have that.
Chucky's dad pops up and also gets locked in the attic, and rather than calling for help, he proceeds to just chill and listen to the story with everyone because he doesn't know, because he's an adult that doesn't really know Passover, and that's kind of cool. So they do the whole thing. Tommy goes back, let my babies go, and Angela's like, no. And he's like, well, then some things bad are gonna happen. And she's like, okay. And this is when it starts to get really egregious with the plagues.
Let it all out, Bex.
I think they have around 5 plagues.
Yeah.
As opposed to the usual 10.
Yeah, because I remember the frogs, the lice, the wild animals.
So the ones that we saw in Rugrats, we got the frogs, the lice, the flies. I think maybe they lumped flies and locusts together. I feel like maybe we got the sickness, but I'm not really sure. So we got the frogs, the lice, the flies, wild beasts, which are not...
Yeah, that wasn't a thing, was it?
Yeah, I don't think that was a thing.
That is not, in fact, a plague.
Yeah, I guess they decided they wanted to do a gag where a whole bunch of zoo animals pop in. Editor Jasmine here. Bex found out shortly after this recording that there are, in fact, versions of the story that do have a wild beasts plague, so that is our bad.
So the traditional plagues are, in order, blood, which is the sea river turns to blood.
Which
frogs,
I get why that's not there.
Lice, not to be confused with flies, not to be confused with pestilence, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, which wouldn't really be helpful for a TV show because you just have to...
Well, they did have darkness. They didn't have
darkness. They literally just turned out the lights.
Well, that saves the animation budget then.
True.
And then number 10, the killing of the firstborn, which they kept.
I mean, they didn't say kill. They said
take away.
Take it away. I mean, they had to keep it. It's the most important one. And to their credit, they even included the fact that the Jews would kill a goat and mark their doors with goat's blood so the angel knew to pass over them and not take their firstborn. That's actually where Passover comes from. The Jews were passed over.
Mm-hmm. And then Chucky,
Chucky cleans it up, which is very silly.
Chucky thing to do.
Yep.
Very silly. So Angelica's like, I'm not scared. And then she realizes first of all, it implies that her parents know she's the pharaoh and are totally chill with it and are just off doing other things.
I love that gag so much where she calls her dad in the imaginary version of Passover. It's just like,
Hey, wait a minute.
Hello, Pickles residence.
Daddy, it's me, Pharaoh.
Oh, hello, sweetheart. How's Egypt?
Fine. Daddy, can I ask you a question?
Of course, Pharaoh, honey. Anything.
You and Mommy didn't by any chance have any other kids before me that you might have forgotten to mention, did ya?
Of course not, my little Sphinx. You're our first and only child.
I see. Thank you, Daddy. I think I'm in trouble.
So when she realizes that it's her feet being held at the fire, she's like, oh, I should let him go. Well, in the actual tale, it was Pharaoh's firstborn son that was killed, and that's what convinced him to let him go. And then more parents get stuck upstairs, and it's the whole thing. Then, so they're like, oh my god, we can go? And then Angelica realizes she has no slaves and no one to do anything for her.
Okay, in that case, I'll just have a long hot bath. You mean I threw out the baby with the bathwater too?
And she reneges. Kind of like how the Pharaoh reneged, but that was more out of pure fury than out of realizing they were going to be inconvenienced.
Listen, is there anything more infuriating than being inconvenienced?
Touché.
At least in Angelica's case.
Yeah, exactly.
The Seder's going on. They realize that nobody's there anymore. So everyone goes upstairs. They find Boris. It's a beautiful reunion. And he finally tells the end of the story, which is that Moses summons the power of God to part the Red Sea. So they get to walk through the ocean as the big kids, or the Egyptians, are coming. And then he slams it shut behind them. And it does not kill anyone. Angelica's able to breathe underwater.
Only Cynthia's the victim there. She gets eaten by a shark.
Yeah, and she blames Cynthia for it. It's like, that's another fine mess you've gotten us into. And I'm like, take responsibility for your actions.
It's never her fault, baby.
Nope.
And then the wind magically blows the door shut, locking them all in, which, oh well. And they think they're going to get part 2, which is they wandered the desert for 40 years before reaching the promised land, where you get such hits as where it's where the 10 Commandments come in. That's where there was the cow, and Moses was like, I've had enough of you people. And it's actually just a story about how his aunt and uncle met at the Passover Seder back in Russia. And that's the whole thing. It's a 22-minute episode. There were 2 Rugrats episodes within that time slot, so they made an extra long one. And yeah, it was really well acclaimed. And it's just sweet. It's great for kids. It's a great, introduction as to, what this really means, even though you do tell kids why you do this every year in the Seder itself. But it's cute. It's fun. It's great. I love it. It's a silly little time.
Yeah, probably a little easier for them to understand than maybe the story at the Seder in some ways.
When Dee says, okay, let's go down for the Seder, Boris just says, oh, I just already told the whole story of Passover. Let's go eat.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have to tell the whole story before you eat. That's what happens. And it's so fun. And I like that it led to the Hanukkah episode because I loved that one a lot too. And it's a short episode. You can probably find it online if you're curious about Passover. It's a good jumping off point, I would argue. Obviously, it doesn't get everything right. I mean, they're babies. Slave babies. The babies are slaves.
An insane choice was made that day. But in all seriousness, if you have kids who are probably not quite there yet for the Prince of Egypt, this is a good starting off point. Because, the Chuckies of the world are not ready for the Prince of Egypt.
No.
This is true.
Yeah, especially Chucky's mind is a scary place to be in.
Mood, little dude. Mood.
But it certainly explains a lot more than Mentors does.
Point of intersection found. This is a degree 6. Jan Rubes was in Flight of the Reindeer with Debbie Lee Carrington, who was in Return of the Jedi and the Ewok Adventure. Jane Sowerby was in MVP Most Valuable Primate with Kirby Morrow, who was in Lego Star Wars The Yoda Chronicles and Lego Star Wars Droid Tales.
How do we even begin to explain Mentors, Shami?
Very obscure television show, little sci-fi show where this guy essentially builds a time machine that can take people from different parts of history, different parts of the world, and bring them to the present day for 36 hours before they go. They don't necessarily remember their time in the present, but sometimes there are certain ripple effects that show up.
Yeah, we especially see that in the Anne Frank episode.
Yep.
Yes, there's an Anne Frank episode.
Oh,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
The whole idea is to give her, just a little bit of time of freedom.
Oh!
Yeah.
Huh. Please tell me there's a Rasputin episode. Please tell me we got to see Rasputin.
We'd have to look this up.
There is a Vlad Tepes episode.
And there is a Mary Shelley episode.
Slay. So from what I understood from the episode, the conceit is that his best friend, who he loops in all the shenanigans, is Jewish.
Yes. They're kind of on again, off again.
Oh, are they?
Yes.
My goodness.
Yes, it's very much a trials and tribulations of young love kind of deal. And I gotta say, they look so much younger to me now than they did when I was a kid. Obviously.
And his cousins are moving to town, and he's being a little bitch about it.
Oliver's a bit of a brat.
He doesn't like the babies getting in his space. He doesn't like the fact that his little cousin believes in tarot while he believes in science, which I guess would be annoying if you did build a literal time machine.
Yeah, that's fair. But also she recognized the energy of Moses' staff, so that kind of implies that both magic and science are valid.
There's such a point. So they wind up in the basement, go snooping, and the sister goes, "This has a powerful energy." I was like,
"Oh, you have no idea, sister."
I forget. So why is the Jewish on-again, off-again girlfriend's mom sad? Did someone die?
Yeah, someone is like terminally ill, and she and her husband just lost their business last year. So it's just a pileup of things.
That makes sense. That's a very Jewish thing to like question why and stuff. And to the point that the mom's like, I'm not feeling up to a Seder. Obviously, that really rattles the kid. And she gets her maybe guy involved. And his idea is to get Moses, from the Bible and life, I guess, and bring him there.
We've always had a Seder. Not having one is like canceling Thanksgiving.
So your mom's questioning her faith?
So am I. I don't understand why God allows people to suffer.
Well, summoning God is a bit beyond Visicron.
I figured that, thanks.
But we could bring back someone who's supposed to have seen God. Moses.
To the 20th century, 21st century, depending on when that came out.
Yeah, it was the 21st century, and you know why I remember that? Because I just remembered the Nostradamus episode where he's trying to guess where they are, basically. And then by the end, he's like, wait, this is the new millennium?
New millennium, baby.
It's actually really cute. He's so awestruck because he couldn't have even predicted that.
So they get him. The problem is they get him like the day before the burning bush appears to him.
Basically.
How could I accomplish these things? I am 79 years old, and I worked 40 years as a shepherd, tending the flocks for Jethro.
Yeah, that's right. And you married his daughter, Zipporah.
Here's one advice. Never work for your father-in-law.
It says here that Moses was 80 when he saw the burning bush and returned to Egypt to free his people. So the 10 plagues, the parting of the Red Sea, and the 10 commandments haven't happened yet, if they did happen.
Great. So, what we've got here is an old shepherd who stammers and smells like sheep dip.
Yeah.
Whackity schmackity doo.
So instead of the savior of the Jewish people, they get a shepherd and one of his goats. And they didn't tell us if the goat got sent back at the end.
Oh, no, the sheep did get sent back because we saw him, holding sheep by the rope when we left.
Yeah, we did.
Well, then I'm just not observant.
That's okay. There's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot to absorb here.
Yeah, so he pops up and he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then the fun thing, so the thing that Prince of Egypt really does away with is Aaron's importance to the story. Aaron, played by Jeff Goldblum in Prince of Egypt, because Moses has a stutter. So he needed Aaron to be his voice. He was the one with the plague, but he needed Aaron to actually go with him and speak the case, eloquently, because he physically couldn't. I find it really interesting that one of the only things to adapt that is a Canadian TV show about kids in time travel.
Yeah.
Also, it adapted that he's old as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first time we see him so old, because usually, in stuff like Prince of Egypt or any other sort of adaptation of the Book of Exodus, he's maybe in his 30s at most.
I think Charlton Heston was the closest we had gotten to him being anywhere near appearing remotely old.
Yeah.
Which, man, we've got a baby Moses and we got biblically accurate Moses, literally.
Two ends of the spectrum.
We love that. But he gets there. He's shockingly unfazed by everything.
Yeah, that's most of the people who get pulled in. They, basically as soon as they get the explanation, they're just like, oh, okay.
Compliments the mom's tent.
Yes.
Is notably a house.
Yes, which he would have known that there were homes besides tents.
Yeah, he grew up in a palace.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a weird line now that I think about it.
I think maybe because he went from one extreme to another, he probably doesn't know what the in-between is.
Crazy.
Maybe.
Yeah, so...
But yeah, because he hasn't seen the burning bush yet, he doesn't know what the hell is going on there, so they're just kind of like, how's this going to help us out at all?
Well, and then they're like, well, maybe if I bring a stranger into my house and say he's an old Jewish man that's just moved to town, I could force my mom to have a Seder, which the child does. And then meanwhile, you just have the B plot, which is a really nothing B plot. Yeah. I guess is technically the A plot of the cousins, because that's what we're first introduced to.
That's a good question, to be honest, because if you go by just the premise of the show, the A-plot should be the Moses stuff. But there's a lot more with the cousins and Oliver not liking them that much than there is with the Moses thing. Because I remember when I was growing up, I thought this episode was so profound, but there's so little connective tissue on the Moses stuff that's like...
Were they trying to make, like, Crystal and Simon, like, the Moses of this episode? Like, because they were, like, now strangers in a strange land, like, this is, like, literally the title of the episode.
That is a hysterical comparison to the point where the whole family little kiki of the kids are like, let's move home. And the parents are like, we can't.
That's not how this works.
That's not how this works. The kids are like, okay, team break. And I was like, so this is the A-plot of the episode, and it basically has no emotional substance whatsoever. It's just that is his name Oliver?
Yes.
Oliver.
Yeah.
He's a dick to his cousins. He says they're losers unintentionally right in front of them. And then he doesn't even say sorry, is the other thing.
Yeah, I know.
The worst.
Apology.
Yeah, Oliver's kind of a snotty teenage boy about it.
And then meanwhile, we get a really profound scene where... Does the mom have a name? I don't know. I'm just calling her the mom.
Dee's mom, yeah.
Dee's mom,
Dee's mom. The on-again, off-again girlfriend's mom. And Moses go to a temple, which is kind of radical to take Moses to a temple and then to have him see the ark, which is at the head of the bima, which is like, I guess, the Jewish pulpit, which is where we keep the books of the Torah specifically, which were notably written down by Moses.
Yeah, even it says it's also known as the Book of Moses.
And they have this fascinating conversation where she's like, why does God let bad things happen? Which is a question. Jews are a questioning religion. We are taught to question everything and ask why. So that felt very true to form, and it was fascinating to see his answer. Moses was both like, maybe because it has a greater purpose, but also acknowledges that, yeah, it's unfair. It's really, God, this TV show is cooking, guys.
Oh, yeah, no, it very much goes into some deep themes, or at least really tries to. Like, I know that for the Beethoven episode even, like, because Dee is possibly going to be losing her hearing, so they bring in Beethoven, but it's before he lost his hearing.
Which is a recurring theme, apparently.
Yeah, they make this mistake a lot.
I like that they keep bringing in people before their major events.
And the thing is, like, he finds out he's going to lose his hearing, and he gets really depressed, but then they show him Ode to Joy, and he's like,
I was wrong. This music, it's passion and freedom combined. What genius composed this beauty?
You wrote it in 1823. After you went deaf.
And so that ends up really lifting his spirits. Like, this show does really try to tackle some crazy themes.
Wild.
And then basically Dee's mother, like, has an epiphany kind of apropos to nothing. Like, it just kind of comes to her.
I finally understood what you meant about the promised land.
What is that?
It doesn't have to be where you've been or where you're going. It can be where you are. Thank you for leading me here.
Which is okay.
Yeah, I mean, sweet sentiment, I guess, but in the context of the story that this is all inspired by,
doesn't technically match the story.
Were there any Jewish writers in this episode? That's what I want to know.
I don't even know if we could find that out because the show is so old.
And not just old, but it is basically a lost series. The only reason we were able to watch this is because we had some beautiful archivists on YouTube who have tried to preserve as much of this show as they could. There's a wiki page. Hold, please. Let me see. It was created by somebody named Josh Miller.
Could be Jewish.
Okay, we got writer names here.
Okay, let's see if we can and only I'm allowed to do this, investigating based on last names.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we do not have the writer for this episode. We only have the writers for the first season.
Well then, whoops.
So much for that. But, because this did last for 4 seasons, which that's pretty good considering.
Yeah, we're not
Crazy.
even gonna get into like the last season where with Glay and everything.
So they have a Passover Seder, including Moses, which is kind of crazy.
How many people can say they had Seder with literal Moses?
And then they send him back.
You say the bush burns, but it is not consumed. After all this, I could believe just about anything.
Oh, don't want to forget this. You're gonna need it.
Shalom. I am ready.
But the shithead youngest cousin sees and goes,
Holy Moses.
A+ ending
Yeah.
gag, I don't even care.
Yeah, that got a laugh out of me.
"'Tis very silly."
Plus, hell of a cliffhanger. Because I know I was just like, oh shit, what are they going to do? No one's really found out about what Oliver and Dee have been up to with Isakron before. The answer is, they were setting up for replacements for when Oliver and Dee go to college. Go figure. Maybe we'll talk about a couple of those episodes someday. It's a very silly episode, and I do have fondness for it, even if it definitely does not hold up.
And these were both kind of silly, but also kind of important and like helpful to like children trying to understand the holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably more helpful, I would say, than Prince of Egypt, because Prince of Egypt took a very Prince of Egypt had to appeal to all demographics. So it took a very not as Jewish lens of the story.
True, they very famously had consultants of all three of the Abrahamic religions.
Which slay. They also I can't do this without bringing up my favorite Prince of Egypt fact, which is that if you messed up on the Prince of Egypt animation somehow, you were sent to go work on Shrek. The DreamWorks people called it getting Shreked. This is a real fact.
Oh my god.
Get fucking Shreked.
Get Shreked, bitch. And you know what? That turned out to be a hell of a movie.
Yeah, we'll talk about it one day.
But yeah, it was cute. It's weird to celebrate Passover in these times. But like we said, Jews are a religion of always constantly questioning, as well as always looking at where we came from and looking to the past for answers as how that we can be better moving forward. Which I guess is kind of the whole thesis of the Canadian time travel show.
I mean, we do get that little scene of Dee's mom, like, reading something. I think she was, like, reading over and reflecting and trying to get answers about Promised Land and what it means.
Yeah, not really sure how. I mean, I guess it was like the early 2000s. She couldn't just Google Promised Land.
And yeah, the thing is, unfortunately, we just kind of see that she's reading and it looks like she's had an epiphany. It's like, man, it would have been really nice if the core of this episode had given us an idea of where she got the epiphany from, because, like, sure, she credits Moses for bringing her to the Promised Land, but we don't really see what else has brought her to that conclusion.
We saw some of Dee's relationship to Judaism, and that was interesting, too, in the fact that, like, she was like, well, we have to have Passover because we've always had Passover because it's so important, but we didn't really get the sense of why it was so important to her.
Yeah.
It was really more them just bringing Moses over to convince her mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a weird egg.
It is. Like, I still have a lot of nostalgia for this show. Again, it goes into some crazy places, like a lot of them that are eligible for this podcast, actually. There's a Lewis Carroll episode called Lewis in Wonderland. There's an episode about Oscar Wilde. There's a Santa Claus episode, although apparently I have never seen it.
Wait, what? Santa's not real!
I mean the historical Santa.
They brought over St. Nicholas. The Raven. Oh, I remember the Raven episode. The episode with Edgar Allan Poe. And it literally ends with him on the top of this dark staircase reciting the Raven.
Oh my goodness. There's so much going on in what you have just told me.
Yeah, no, there's a lot there.
I mean, we also have an episode of Harry Houdini and pulling one last escape trick.
Yes! Thank goodness!
And again, the Citizen Kane episode, that's also eligible.
Cannot believe there's a Citizen Kane episode.
Oh, unfortunately, Citizen Kane may not be eligible anymore because, like, Orson Welles' daughter is contesting that.
Yeah, that's true, but we'll see how that goes.
Contesting the episode or contesting any retelling?
contesting whether or not like the copyright
for Citizen Kane has run out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Originally, like according to this, like the copyright wasn't renewed, so technically by the time this episode comes out, it would have been like public domain. But then she said, "Oh no, actually," because she was fighting to renew the copyright.
Yeah, which
mysterious.
Which, yeah, I'm sure that's not going to cause any other entities to get any ideas.
Time will only tell, friends.
Let's see. Oh, of course, there's the Shakespeare episode where he helps the cousin's dad out of his writer's block.
Of course, the cousin's dad is a writer.
Oh, yeah. Oh my god, there's an episode called The Tao of Hockey. I don't even know if I ever watched that one.
These are all choices. I feel like we might have to do a sub-series of the show just on this television show.
Honestly, I am game for possibly doing that, depending on how many of the episodes we can find.
Yeah, because it is technically listed as a lost series.
Yeah, it's high-key lost media, which is why I'm very grateful to this YouTube channel for holding on to as many as they could.
Lost media somehow always finds its way back around, though. Last month, they just uncovered 2 Doctor Who serials from the 60s.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
So you never know.
You never know.
I mean, this is why Nosferatu eventually,
came back to us, yes, and that's why we have Orlok in space now. Anyway, anything else we want to talk about regarding these episodes before we get into the ending bits?
They accidentally summoned the sheep along with him.
Yeah.
That poor sheep.
God,
Justice for the sheep.
It's hard enough to being a person getting blasted forward in time. Imagine being a sheep.
Did any other animals get blasted forward in other episodes? I can't remember.
There is one called Man's Best Friend, so...
A dog! I remember!
It's Laika.
I think it... Yeah, it was.
But they should. They should save Laika.
No, they shouldn't. I would cry. I would cry a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so TLDR, if you ever get the chance to go to a Passover Seder, I recommend going. It's really educational and fun experience. You get to sing. Mm-hmm. You get to drink a lot of wine. You get to eat.
One of those they tried to kill us, let's eat sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is. This is the epitome of the Jewish holiday, the trifecta. They tried to kill us, they failed, let's eat. It has all 3 of them.
Nice. Oh, by the way, in the Rugrats episode where they were showing objects and props, is that like a common thing?
The objects and props, yes. So that is that is the Seder plate, where you have the bitter herb. You have everything that represents all the plagues and like things you were going through and all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of representational food in the Seder as well. And some of the representation food you have to eat even if it tastes bad.
Oh no.
Because it's supposed to, because you're remembering the bitterness of slavery.
I'm assuming that includes the gefilte fish.
The gefilte fish is not representational. The gefilte fish is more cultural, and I hate her.
Oh no.
The gefilte fish is an acquired taste, and I am almost 28, and I have yet to acquire it, so I don't think it's in the cards for me.
Yeah,
oh, no.
I feel like it's not happening if it hasn't happened yet. Well, at least it's not one of the ones you're required to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, small mercies for that.
Are, like horseradishes require that Passover. It's a whole thing.
Horseradish?
Horseradish. To remember the bitterness.
Oh, okay.
Horseradish, haroset, which is a cinnamony apple raisins mixture representing the sweetness of freedom. You mix the horseradish, the maror, the bitter herb, and the haroset into a sandwich with the matzah to join the bitterness of slavery and the freedom together and eat it as a sandwich.
Kind of like you can't have one without the other, I guess.
Oh,
Every food means something in the Seder. Maybe we should attach a My Jewish Learning link to this episode explaining more about the Seder.
I wouldn't be mad about that.
Yeah.
I'm only one gay. I can only explain so much, fellas.
No, of course. And listen, we always try to be at least a little bit educational around here.
Yeah. So yeah, fun times.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of already went over the significance of Passover, unless you want to say anything else, Bex.
I think I really hit the nail on the head as to why it endures. It is one of our most important holidays, and it endures because we endure, basically.
Yeah.
The only reason that we have Passover is because we escaped. And it should be our duty. There's this thing in Judaism called Tikkun Olam, which is to repair the world. It should be our duty to pay it forward onto others. Repair the world. That is the form of Judaism I practice. And that is why I love Passover so much, because it reminds me to look back at where we're from and to try and pay it forward to make the rest of the world as beautiful as what we believe it to be. And the food's great too.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, many things can be true.
It is very important to the culture, and the food slaps.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Also, the Rugrats Passover episode should not be the only iconic one. There needs to be more.
Yes.
In terms of Passover episodes, we were slim pickings for this show in general, trying to find something. So make Passover episodes, cowards.
Passover episodes, Passover movies. Give us
While
more.
we're at it, I could give you more. Make Purim episodes.
Yes.
Make Rosh Hashanah episodes. Maybe don't make Yom Kippur episodes. That's way too depressing.
I mean, Gossip Girl did.
What?
Gossip Girl made a Yom Kippur episode?
This Monday.
Yom Kippur.
Oh, God. On the Jewish Day of Atonement.
Secrets are bound to come out.
It would be a sin.
Give me something. On Blair Waldorf, perhaps?
To sin.
You really believe she has no other secrets?
I trust Blair.
But what if I lose everything?
Gossip Girl. All new episode this Monday at 8/7 Central on the CW.
Wallace Shawn was in it.
What?
Yep.
Yeah.
Famed playwright Wallace Shawn was in Gossip Girl?
Yes.
He played Blair's stepdad.
Wallace Shawn, who currently has a play playing off Broadway right now that you should all go see called What We Did Before Our Moth Days, was in Gossip Girl? And you know what? Slay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good for him.
Secure the bag, Wallace Shawn. And speaking of securing the bag, who has stuff to plug?
I don't have anything to plug other than be good to each other and try and take care of your people.
Yeah, same to that. As for me, you can find me on the Online Muse on Tumblr. I make all the graphics for this podcast and for our sibling podcast, 6 Degrees of Star Wars. If you like my work and want to commission me, come hit me up.
And in the spirit of being good to one another, this week's Hero's Call to Action is to check out the link tree of Operation Olive Branch, a volunteer-powered, majority BIPOC-led nonprofit committed to collective liberation. And as always, you can find me at Faye Riviera on all the socials. And please consider checking out this podcast's Tumblr page, anitretellingpodcast.tumblr.com. Please consider using the podcatcher of your choice to rate and review us, and spread the word about us where you can. Maybe you have friends who will like our Muppet episodes, or maybe you'll have friends who will like it when we talk more about Jane Austen. One of my goals within Retelling is that there is truly, almost certainly, an episode for everyone. And if you have room in your wallets, please consider donating to our Patreon. Our various tiers give you access to episodes a little bit early. It gives you access to our IER book club that I started during the hiatus. And it gets you a direct thank you in the credits, such as for Kyle Calgren, Connor Duffy, and Juan Garcia. Thanks so much for your contributions. This is making it all the more likely that this podcast keeps going. You can also support us through our Ko-Fi or the Support the Show link below. However you choose to support us, however, just the fact that you are listening to us means the world to us. And it helps us reach the next chapter of our story. And speaking of the next chapter of our story, well, our next Monday is April 20th, which is a date that does mean a certain thing to certain people, of course, in places where it is legal. So what better thing to discuss than the satirical musical takedown of an anti-drug PSA from the 1930s. That's right, we are talking Reefer Madness, the movie musical. We hope you will join us. Happy belated Passover. And remember, stories gain power in each retelling.
And God brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, with great awe, with signs, and with wonders.